Hey friends, in Season 21, Bungie added exotic armor focusing at the Cryptarch, and as a result, I'm broke on Ascendant shards and need a way to refill it. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you about that method, which is pretty much just farming a master dungeon section over and over and over again. Conveniently this week, we have one of the fastest master dungeon encounters, which is Spire of the Watcher, the Ascent encounter, which can be done from start to finish, loading the checkpoint and all of it in 3 minutes and 30 seconds-ish for a loot table of the long arm scout rifle, which is kind of like legendary DMT, can get some pretty cool stuff. I'll talk about that later. The 7th Seraph Carbine auto rifle, and then also artifice armor, helmet, arms, and legs, as well as sonar engrams, ascendant shards, and enhancement prisms. And if you're crafty, you can throw on a crafted weapon and just keep it in your inventory while you use a trace rifle and an eager edge sword to complete the encounter and get crafting experience every single time. Since this video is about ascendant shards, your drop rate is going to be roughly 3 to 4 ascendant shards per hour, which is on par with master and grandmaster nightfalls, but as you know, sometimes the nightfall itself is either very long or the loot isn't desirable, like maybe you want Militia's Birthright instead of a scout rifle. So now let's talk about how to get to and complete this encounter. First, load it up on master. What you're going to do is kill a Minotaur, collect an Arctrician buff, and follow the wires. You'll know which wire to start on because it'll have a box above it with some arrows pointing down. So you can do this solo by memorizing all the locations, or with a team to go a little bit faster. On your way to the Ascent encounter, all you pretty much got to do is switch to a Strand class and just grapple across any obstacle you see. Very, very straightforward. Once you're at the Ascent, that's when you swap to a different character to checkpoint. In this case, I also gave the checkpoint to my friend who is handling swapping checkpoints. So here's how it works. You have one friend handle the checkpoints, and the other two are running the encounter by themselves without the help of the third. Your loadout is pretty much going to be an eager edge sword and a trace rifle since it is the seasonal overload. I'm running Stompies on a Void Hunter, but almost anything works as long as you're fast and can stay alive. I like the survivability of Aegir Scepter being able to freeze an entire group, as well as Invis to, be invisible. It's also worth throwing on a crafted weapon so you can level it at 17% per completion, but if you don't have a crafted weapon or don't feel like doing that and want to make it go slightly faster, it's worth going double special with a grenade launcher so you can bank grenade launcher shots into the wires when you have to shoot them. That way you don't even have to have line of sight. You can just keep running, keep eager edge past. So to do this encounter, you kill a Minotaur to grab a buff and then follow the wires. There's one on each side, so you and your teammates decide who is handling the clockwise rotation and who is getting the counterclockwise. Once you agree to that, it's just memorization and repetition. A huge tip for this is to look up whenever you eager edge so it has less likelihood to track onto an enemy that you don't want it to track onto. Definitely expect mistakes the first couple times you run it, but as you get into the groove and make less mistakes, it gets easier and easier because the faster you go, the less time the enemies have to spawn in, so you're already zooming past them. So nothing's shooting you, it's a pretty free encounter. I have done this on bare minimum light account just to get artifice armor for a season because you can realistically do this without getting shot at all. Now let's talk about artifice armor. The stat range is going to be from 57 to 68 I've heard can drop here, but in this session I got a 67 and I would say it averaged somewhere around 62, 63 at most. So don't expect this to be the best artifice farm, but hey, sometimes you get a piece that's pretty good while you're banking some ascendant shards. And you build up those sonar engrams so you can turn those in at the helm to work on the new seasonal craftable weapons. So you're knocking out like 7 birds with 1 stone in this encounter. I hope this video, I'm going to cut myself off there because I forgot to talk about what role to go for on the long arm since you're going to receive a lot of them. I think hipfire in the left column makes the most sense. It's like baby dead man's tail. It's excellent. On the right column, go explosive payload because it double procs the origin trait since it counts as 2 separate hits. The origin trait's okay, and you might not even notice it's there, but explosive payload is also just good on its own for doing scout rifle things and pumping that damage fall off the effective kill range even farther. But if you want a fun roll, I would say Adrenaline Junkie is insane because it lets you 2-tap Guardians at a blazing fast 0.5 seconds. There's also some shenanigans you can do with high impact reserves. Since you do load in 2 bullets at a time, you can purposely keep this emptied to the bottom 3 or 4 bullets and get like a 2-head 1-body combo, maybe use Lumina for some 2-taps on some lower resilience Guardians, that type of thing. I don't really have a PvE recommendation, but ultimately, keep any hipfire grip explosive payload, keep an adrenaline junkie, and maybe consider high impact reserves with under pressure, since you can keep both of those perks procced at the same time intentionally. Now for the rest of the gun, if you're jumping, steady rounds or extended mag. If you're staying planted, accurized rounds. Fluted barrel is a very safe call, same with arrowhead break, and for the masterwork, on scouts now I just always go for range, even if you think it doesn't matter. If I'm using a scout rifle, I am on the back edge of the map as far away as I can possibly be, so every meter of damage fall off does matter to me. Now let's talk about the auto rifle. So immediately your eyes gravitate to target lock, and you're not wrong for that. It's a really strong perk, but it's a little undervalued on this archetype. It does artificially pump out the range, but you're not necessarily going to get a faster time to kill on 10 resilience targets. So for that reason, it's kind of a bait perk when you have Swashbuckler or Frenzy sitting right there to affect the TTK and take a bullet off the time to kill, which, yes, does matter. You can also proc Frenzy with Gemini Jester, for example, very easily, and that is why that is my pick. However, if you wanted to go Swashbuckler with a Radiant Knife, you could probably take 2 bullets off the time to kill. But if you get target lock, you don't have to throw it away. It's still really, really good. On the left-hand column, I think you always go for Dynamic Sway, although there is a case to be made for melee builds with Pugilist, Hipfire for general play, and Threat Detector for Gemini Jester. In the magazine column, always go Seraph rounds because it's both armor piercing and ricochet together, which is super useful. For the barrel, arrowhead break, so you get up and down recoil at 100. The masterwork can be range or stability for an easier shooting experience. And then finally, the origin trait is nuts. This is 7th column fuel. Anytime you break an opponent's shield, it reloads the magazine, which means you can just keep shooting. You go on a 7th column tear. It's like Huckleberry the perk. I hope you found this video helpful. I will see you in the next one. The dim loadout should be in the description below, so thanks.